Hey everyone, this is Jasmine. I'm a Reiki and Mental Alchemy practitioner. My Instagram handle for my offering is Sun Pluto Alchemist, and if you would like to find out more about me or what I do, I'm going to leave my details below so you can check them out. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to manifest your desire. So I've talked about the mental body, the emotional body, as well as how the matrix works according to the Hermetic Principles. And this time around, I'm going to talk about life purpose. So to just give you a little heads up before I jump on to this video's topic is that I have been reviewing and rewatching some of my past videos, and I've seen some things that I can improve, and I've seen some things where I just kind of like go round and round about a certain topic, and I feel like I wasn't direct enough. I feel like I didn't have like really clarity on how to articulate myself before doing this video. So for this video, I'm experimenting a few different things. It's probably gonna be for this video and the next few videos as well. So right now I'm experimenting in writing them out as an article first. That helps me to structure my thoughts and my ideas and how I want to express myself, because most of the time I feel like I have all these ideas, all this understanding in my head in terms of felt sense as well, and I not necessarily have like the words for it. And for the past few videos, I feel like I have been jumping into this recording mode with just a little bit of point forms and not necessarily that I have structured a way of how I want to articulate, how I want to express myself. So this time around, I'm going to use a teleprompter for the article that I have written, and you let me know how you feel and how you think about it. So like I say, in the first few videos, I've talked about the matrix. How does the matrix works according to the Hermetic Principle? I've talked about the emotional body. I've talked about the mental body. So this time around, I'm going to talk about life purpose, our own life purpose, and as well as how it affects our ability to manifest the things that we want. So just a little heads up. So this time around, I felt like I've shared a whole lot more than what I intend to share. I felt like I need to explain the whole topic on life purpose in order for you to understand how it actually affects the things that we want to manifest. And for the first two videos, what I have covered are mainly the things that we have control over, like how we can heal our emotional body, and how we can reframe our thoughts and mindset, that we can, all of these things are what we can control with our own free will. So for life purpose, it's kind of like these huge aspects that we kind of don't have control over, which is what our higher self signed us up for before we descend into reality onto earth. And I believe some of the details, in fact, most of the details can be reviewed through our astrological natal chart. I believe there are certain things in life that we are meant to go through, to experience, or even to serve the collective. In fact, if our higher self were the ones who chose for our soul to experience certain events in our life, I would even go as far to say that we are actually the very person to choose for certain experiences to come into our life. I know that it doesn't feel like it, especially when certain events that happen to us are really traumatizing. And I want to say right here that I don't want anyone to go into this mode of self-blaming, like if you were to, you were to be abused or like some unbearable, very nasty things that happen to you. Know that it is definitely not your fault, and the last thing I want is for anyone to blame themselves for it. But one thing I also want to mention and for you to keep in mind is that without the lived experience and without the journey towards mastery, there is no way that you are going to truly learn the lesson you are meant to go through. Or to just give an example, would you actually trust a teacher or a mentor who actually went through all of the tough times and then have all of those lived experience and learn from them and then master from them? Or will you actually believe and engage mentors or teachers who come from just solely understanding a certain topic through books and through courses? So for me, definitely I would actually want somebody who had the lived experience. It's definitely, I felt like to me, this is true mastery. This is true understanding of a certain topic or a theme. And keeping in mind that the 3D reality on Earth is just a very intense school for souls to speed up your learning process for both you and your soul as well. So keeping in mind, again, without pain, there will be no pleasure. Without sadness, there will be no joy. And without lack, there's not going to be any appreciation for possession. So how I usually describe is we usually experience the very opposite end of our destination when we were young. And it's through this mastery, through this journey, that we truly learn and master the lessons. So in astrology terms, we call it the North and South Node, and you can go Google if you are interested in understanding more. So to share a little bit about my personal journey, so in my teenage years, I had always wanted to be a singer. Like I wanted to be famous, I wanted to be adored by like many people. I want to be on stage, I want to like have all of the attentions and stuff. But I have to be really very honest, like the craving for fame and for validation wasn't all really very soul-led. Because my father was pretty much obsessed with celebrities, and I thought that being on TV and being successful was the only way to gain his attention and approval. So I attended singing classes, I went for a few competitions, and for some of the competitions I did well, some I didn't. But there was this one particular competition that was on national TV that I did really badly, that I kind of like went really off key because I was like really nervous and stuff. And in the end, they actually aired it on the TV for the whole of Singapore to see. I felt really ashamed. I felt really humiliated, and it registered in me and in my body that I am a failure and it is definitely not safe to show up and try. So since then, I have always felt unsafe to show up, and there is always this tendency of me wanting to hide, because it always felt like hiding is where safety is. And even till now, like this feeling, like after going through like years and years of healing this part of me, even till now, there is this inkling of like wanting to hide because that's where the safety is. And you know, even like showing out on camera like this, knowing that I'm gonna post it on YouTube, there is always a part of me is like, no, I really don't want to do this, and this is really unsafe. So following that, then, not now, is that I have spent a great big part of my life hiding. I have chose to work in a corporate job in the finance department, and the field I chose, like in finance, is because it seems to have the least human interaction. And I feel like the lesser human interaction I have, the safer I'm gonna feel, the safer I'm gonna be. But the next thing I know is that I was working in the advertising industry, and it is actually the industry where socializing is almost mandatory. So even though I'm still in the finance department, I will have regular meetings with important stakeholders in the company. And again, there are like parties, there are like gatherings, like socializing is really mandatory. And it felt like the safety zone that I want to keep myself in seems to shrink significantly. So for my last job, where I was there for almost 5 years, I struggled with social anxiety every day while I'm working there. Like whenever I know that there's gonna be meetings coming up, there are gonna be events coming up, my breath always becomes shallow, my palms start sweating, and I felt particularly bad, especially when the industry or like the company that I work for consists of mainly extroverts, and socializing seems to be like second nature, seems to be like such a natural act from them, where I'm like really struggling here. But the thing is, I'm highly functional. So even though I may not look that part, in fact, some of my friends or some of the people I've known me had told me that I'm an extrovert, but trust me, I am not. So even though I've healed through like a lot of social anxiety, like right now, I still struggle with showing up, and I still struggle with talking to new people as well. So during that time, even though I was like highly functional and not much people could tell, where I go to events, I go to meetings, and I perform like, fairly acceptable, I would say. But after that, this is where I crash. I like really crash, and I need like a very long time to recuperate from all the exhaustion of needing to function normally while handling my crippling social anxiety. And there are times like during COVID times when I work from home, where I have to go from meeting to meetings, like literally after work hours have ended, I just laid on the floor and I just slept, because the anxiety was really crippling me. So funnily enough, after going through the whole saga, and then I met a few friends who know how to read 八字, and then went for 紫微斗数 reading, and as well as went for astrology reading, and they told me that I'm meant to be an educator, to spread my knowledge to many. Can you imagine how I feel about that? So even though like I'm not there yet, I'm still struggling with showing up, but I'm already showing up. The thing I have learned from this whole journey is that when I was younger, I experienced trauma from showing up. Especially in my case, I was looking for fame and recognition for the wrong purpose. Like I was trying to gain my father's approval and validation, and I wanted to be adored, because from the way I see it, I couldn't give myself the approval and validation. Like I couldn't love myself unconditionally for just who I am, and I wanted to be on stage having that fame so that other people can show me that approval and validation. And through that, I failed, and I thought that I had learned my lesson. Like I shouldn't show up, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not lovable, and I should just hide myself, and that's where safety is, right? But life kept putting circumstances in my way to push me to heal through this trauma, and I believe the lesson here is to learn to show up for the right reason. Like I believe my lesson here is to show up authentically for myself, loving myself unconditionally no matter how I am viewed in other people's eyes. Like I know this lesson, but I can safely say also that it is not an easy journey. Still is not, because I'm still working through it. So understanding the logic, understanding the journey is one part of it. But when you go through it, when you are actually still going through it, the understanding of it obviously does help. But I have to say, while you are going through it, it's really, really very hard sometimes for you to recognize this, to handle all of the life circumstances and still be so resilient and strong about it. So like for me, even though I understand why life kept putting me in these circumstances and what I'm meant to learn, but sometimes the crippling fear of failure and the potential of being ridiculed far exceeds wanting to push through that. So I went through phases of like denial and resistance, and my mind went into like, this solution based of like brainstorming mode of like, no, I don't want to show up. There is ways that you can do it without showing up. You can survive without showing up. That brings me to my next topic that I want to talk about, which is free will. So even though like all of us, we all, including myself, we possess the free will to choose not to fulfill what I was meant to do with this life, or what you are meant to do with this life. So while our codes that are embedded in our natal chart might push us towards a certain direction, let's just say it's your life mission or your life purpose, we all still possess the free will to say no. To give you an example of how this codes or this voice in you affects you, like picture the times where you live with your parents or your caretakers when you were younger. Like you want to just play, but your mom kept nagging you that you should study, you should do your homework. And she told you that if you don't, she will threaten you with all of the possibilities of all of the bad things might happen to you. Like you're gonna fail your exam, you're gonna fail out of school, you're not gonna get a job, all the sorts of things. So while the constant nagging and intimidation are there, technically the decision still lies within your hands. You still have the free will to choose not to do what your mom say. So even though I understand how hard it can be with your mom constantly breathing down your neck, at some point you might find it even like hard to differentiate whether it's your voice or is it like her voice. So obviously I can see in terms of like this is how your unconscious shadow in your psyche controls you, but I'm not going to talk about that because I feel like this analogy can be used for like two things. So I'm going to talk about something else. Like in this case, the codes of your life purpose or your life missions that is embedded in you since birth, right? It's kind of like your mom who's gonna continuously nag at you in the background. It is definitely in your power to ignore that voice, but it will undoubtedly take a whole lot of effort for you to just like pretend that it's not there. So I'm gonna say this as well because this is through my own observation and belief as well, is that if you choose to do things differently and not follow your life path, not follow your life purpose or your mission or your calling, things might get pretty difficult for you. So it can manifest as external circumstances where it, stops you from going wherever you wanted to go right now. That's different from your life purpose. Or you might start experiencing inner conflict within you to tell you, say like, no, don't go that direction. So like, for example, for me, I've been ignoring my calling to show up authentically and to share whatever I've learned, whatever I've observed. I wanted to live in the shadow and not attract any attention, which is why I was in that job in the first place. I was in the finance department, I was working 9 to 6. And I always try my best to show up in a way where others perceive as appropriate and acceptable. I try to be polite, I try to be soft-spoken, and those are like not necessarily me at all. Like I never prioritize about showing myself authentically. I always prioritize showing up how other people's, I feel like it's acceptable. So as time goes by, this is where the resentment in me starts building up. Like I could get extremely exhausted from holding back being myself. And the nagging voice in me kept telling me that, you know what, you are meant to do something else. You are not meant to be stuck in this job. This is a dead-end job. It's not for you. And it's time for you to just show up being yourself and stop hiding. And it took all the mighty effort in me to really pretend that the voice is not there. So I started having all of this internal conflict where the calling in me challenged the other voice that was trying to avoid the perceived danger, because the perceived danger is like, if I'm gonna show up being myself, I'm gonna get rejected, I'm gonna get judged. And then eventually, because the voice is not working, right, I use all of my mighty effort to pretend that the voice is not there. Eventually, it starts to manifest into reality where I start to have even more and more challenging situations at work. And eventually, it led me to a burnout and I had no choice but to quit my job. I mean, that is just my story. And I also have this belief where there are people out there who has been ignoring their calling their whole life. I believe this is entirely possible. It's just that it can be really very challenging, which is why I feel like that's where the phrase where it comes from, that you hear people say, I cannot ignore my calling anymore. However, that being said, I believe all of us possess different levels or different amount of free will. So I've just watched this video the other day of 7 types of reincarnation by Mariya. I'm going to leave the link below if you are interested to check that out. So she named there are like a few types of reincarnation, where there are like master reincarnation, sleeping reincarnation, star seeds reincarnation. And to simplify everything, right, I believe all of us possess a different amount of free will, and it is decided by us or our higher self before we come into this life. So some of us has come into this life having to learn or to master a specific lesson. Some of us have a specific mission to fulfill, and some of us choose to kind of like have a vacation life, which is, you know what, you just think of something that you want, and you can easily manifest that. Like some people just travel the world, enjoying life pleasures, enjoying food, enjoying, like, I don't know, music, and I would call that a vacation life. So about myself, like, fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you see it, is that I know that I have a yacht presented in my natal astrological chart, which is, it almost means like I have a mission or a life purpose to fulfill. Like, again, I can choose with my own free will to not fulfill that, but that nagging feeling is definitely gonna be a lot louder than, say, somebody else who's having a vacation life or like a sleeper life. So I also want to say, like, just imagine your mom nagging at you non-stop for you to do your homework, and she wouldn't stop unless you complete it. Except in this case, like, you might not be able to get out of the house to escape from that voice, because that voice is existing in your head or in your heart. And I also want to say this as well: if you deliberately choose to go down another path rather than your life's purpose or mission, you may find it like really hard to manifest the things you want in that path that you choose with your own free will, because the codes, the frequency that's imprinted in you will definitely affect your vibration, and that's going to play a part in what you're going to manifest. So to share a little bit of my understanding of what life purpose is. Sometimes a life purpose can be like, you're here to master a lesson, to learn a lesson, which is kind of like, I would say, accumulate soul points for your own soul, for yourself. And sometimes you have like a life mission, which is meant to serve the greater good of mankind, or, I would say, like, to serve the collective on Earth or on Gaia. So just imagine that you come down onto Earth with the mission of serving Earth, serving like the collective mankind, serving the whole Gaia. But imagine that you just want to like hide within the four walls, so you want to feel safe, so you just want to be kept safe. Like, do you think your higher self will just allow that to happen? Or do you think they will put you through circumstances that kind of like just get you to wake up your idea, so that you then can fulfill the mission or the stuff that you're meant to do in this life? So the next thing I want to talk about is timing. So like in Chinese terms, I don't know if you heard of it, it's like 人生有三衰六旺, which means that there are like fortunate events and there are like unfortunate events in your life, and there's like a purpose for all of that. So obviously I don't believe that there's only gonna be like 3 bad events and 6 good events, not the number, but like the concept of it. So what I believe is that like the good times are for reaping what you have sown, and the not so good times are meant for you to go through healing journey and letting go of things that no longer serves you. Because without the healing work and without the letting go during the low times, during the not so good times, when you get to the high times, the good times, right, your high can only get that high. And if you kept focusing on only wanting to have highs, like I've met people who went to, I don't know, like feng shui shop, or to do like positive focus, to heck, like even some of the people who jump into like studying manifestation in the first place because they kept only wanting to maintain that high. But it's just impossible, They are gonna go through all of the lows in order to get, so that the high can get higher. So if you kept focusing only wanting to have the highs in your life, you are gonna struggle so much during the lows, let alone being able, and because you're so fixated of like, I don't want to be in the low anymore, I want to get it higher, and you try to like fix the law, so to say, you are gonna miss that opportunity to do deep and meaningful healing work. Which then comes to my next point about, I think all of us, if we want to learn to manifest, we have to learn the meaning of letting go and surrendering to the universe. So for example, for like myself, because again, I have my astrology chart read before, right, that I have so-called been in my lows since January 2023 because I'm going through my Pluto transit. And for those of you who knows about astrology knows how long a Pluto transit can be. I understand it can be like from a year to 2 years, around there. And right now, this Pluto transit of mine is challenging me to take a good hard look at all of the things in my life that I perceive as security, that I think that keeps me safe. And it's kind of like forcing me to really rethink and relook at them and see through them. Are they really safe harbor for me? So I have been through quite a highly challenging period, I would say. I have gone through like several really testing circumstances. I've shed a lot of skin, I've shed a lot of my old self, and I've transformed into my new self like again and again. So I've gone through like a lot of healing work, a lot of effort. There are like a lot of tears, a lot of heartaches. I've lost a lot of friends. And also, till now, I still have not seen much of a harvest that I can reap. And there was like a great big period of my time where I just got really, really frustrated and wonder like, what am I doing wrong? What else do I need to do? Why am I in this low state in such a long time? And that was when I haven't come into this concept of timing, because the effort you had put in, right, or you or me or whoever else that we have put in, it has definitely not gone to waste. It isn't because that it's not working. It's just because it is not the season for harvesting yet. So like, for example, for myself, like understanding this, knowing that how it works, sometimes it relaxes me. It just makes me feel like, you know what, it's not gone to waste. It's just timing. I just need to wait it out a while more. I just, if there's more healing work to do, I'm just gonna do them. It's just not time yet, you see. But of course, if you find it like really, really hard to relax into it, and you felt like there's just this part of you that just keeps hanging on, like, no, like there's just this nervousness, there's just this anxiety that just refuses to let go, I would suggest that go for an astrology reading. And my friend Tonya does like a really, really good job with it. So if you're interested, I'm gonna leave her link below as well. So just back to my own Pluto transit. So just a little FYI, I know that my Pluto transit will be ending around end of year this year. So I'll just keep doing, what I'm doing right now. And also just that, for my own peace of mind, I know that there's just something that I can look forward towards. So, you know what? Just allow the tides to take you where you're supposed to go. And if there are things that you still need to let go, just allow it. And if there are circumstances that are meant to happen to help you gain more clarity, for more healing work, just be with it. And if you are meant to transform, just allow it. Just allow it to happen. So it definitely felt like I've gone a little bit off topic, because I felt like I meant to share more of like the whole idea of life purpose than just how it plays a part into how it affects the things that you want to manifest. But just on the topic of manifestation itself, I think what I meant to say is, even though we all possess the free will to choose what we want to do and manifest in life, understanding that our frequency or vibration will always be influenced by our codes of life purpose that's imprinted in us since birth. So if you are like really fixated on manifesting something that may be pulling you away from your calling, and you realize that, oh my gosh, why am I having such a hard time manifesting something? This might be the reason why. Just for the last bit, I just want to give everybody a gentle reminder, and I want to say like thank you if you have been listening all the way to here, because I know that this is going to be a really long video. but I hope that this is packed with useful information for you as well. But this is just the last bit that I want to give you a gentle reminder before I let you go. So quoting this, I'm just gonna share this quote by Mark Manson. We all get dealt cards. Some of us get better cards than others. And while it's easy to get hung up on our cards and feel we got screwed over, the real game lies in the choice we make with those cards, the risk we decided to take, and the consequences we choose to live with. I believe there is a reason why our higher self chose for us to experience certain things in life. While that being said, some of us came into a life more challenging than others. And while I believe that that's because you have a more resilient soul than others, remember that you still are born with a shittier dealt cards than some of us. So be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, and remember, especially important, not to compare yourself with others. So our journey itself is going to be really unique. It's never going to be linear, and definitely it's something that you cannot compare alongside with another person's, because there is a lot of time that I just went like, oh my god, how did the person get so far so fast? How did the person already get there? Why am I still here? Why am I struggling here? And it really takes all the might in me. I need this voice in my head, and hopefully my voice kind of appear in your head sometimes when you start feeling shitty and you start feeling like, why am I not getting there when the person already got there? We all have our unique journey. There is no way you're going to compare your journey with other people. It may look the same, but remember, again, the dealt cards, the cards that we are dealt with, are definitely different, and it sometimes can be pretty invisible, that you just don't see on the surface just like that. And most of all, be brave, because you will never be presented with challenges that you cannot handle. You got this, guys. I love you guys. See you guys next time.